Hi, I'm Marty Rudell. This video is of jigsaw grouping. The essential elements of jigsaw are that the teacher assigns each student in a group one section of the text to be read. Those students then leave that group and go meet with other students who have the same section they have to discuss how they can teach this section to their home group. Students then return to the home group and each student teaches his or her section, and then the group works on connecting the whole of the text together. In this class, the teacher decided to combine jigsaw with an adapted vocabulary self-collection strategy. Notice the important words that students chose. Notice also how the teacher goes from group to group to keep groups on task and to extend their learning. Jigsaw grouping.
You did your homework last night. I still want you to, as a group, as a home group, I want you to scan the chapter. And here's why. Because each of these home groups is going to choose at least one word. You can go more than that, but at least one word or phrase from each one of these sections that your home group thinks should be part of a vocabulary list. You're going to write down those words, and I only need it one from each group to figure out who's going to be your recorder. Then you're going to decide which member will become an expert on each section. Okay? You don't need to do that yet. When it's time to break up into the expert groups, I'll tell you where each group's going to be, and then we'll go over this, because I want to go over this when you're in your expert groups. So home groups, scan the chapter as the group, figure out at least one word from each of those sections that you think should be on a vocabulary list. You don't need definitions right now. We'll talk about that later. Write down those words, then decide which member will become an expert on each section. Any questions about that? 4. Okay? 2 of group 4. Okay. 2 of you are going to be in group 2. Got it? Okay. 2 of you are going to be group 3. Now, and I want you as a home group to go over the whole chapter. Just scan it at least. Come up with one word at least, or phrase, from each chapter. Now, don't limit yourself to what the book says are the key terms. Yeah, because if you already know what those mean, pick something else that you aren't too sure of right now. I'm sure. For sure. Thanks. No problem. Why don't we have words mean? Choose something else. But you can use those. But what do you think are the important words or phrases? Got it?
Got it.
Keep going. You're doing the writing?
I guess.
Okay, and make sure you have at least one from each one of those sections.
Oh.
You got it? So if you already have, and you can keep these are okay. But make sure you have something from pages 150 to 150, okay? You don't have to limit yourself to what the book says are important, whatever you think is important. All right? Okay, who's doing the writing? Now, do you know what you're writing? Not definitions. I don't need definite. You can if you want. But make sure you get at least one word from pages 138 to 141, 141 to 144. You got it? Each one of those groups. Way to go. That's in your expert group. Okay? Right now, all you're doing is coming up with one word from each one of those page groupings. So 138 to 141, gravity, okay? And you can do more than one if you want. 141 to 144, a word or phrase from that section, and so on and so forth. Go for it. Okay, close the books, leave them on those desks, as whoever's going to that group, they're going to need it. Here you go. You ready? Group 1. All group 1 over here. Group 2, 3, 4, and 5. As soon as you get in your groups, attention on the board. Attention on the board. Thank you. Okay, here's what you're going to do in these groups. You are now going to become, Jesse, experts on those pages. You're going to read, please read the entire section, those 2 or 3 pages, as a group. so you really hear and get the information. I strongly suggest even reading the captions of pictures, the descriptions of any of the figures on the side, the connections, anything on those pages may be important. As a group, determine what information is the most important. What does your group think is good information? Stuff that might show up on a test. Then you're going to create a strategy to teach that information to your home group, the groups you just left. Remember, they're relying on you. Okay? They're only going to be experts on what they're dealing with now. If you're becoming an expert on second law of motion, they're relying on you to teach them well. Practice teaching to your expert group. You're going to be in your expert groups all day today and part of tomorrow. So make sure you get it going. Remember, each of you needs your own materials. If Dion's the only guy putting together a poster or whatever the group decides is the best way to teach, Dion's the only one who's going to be with his group and have that information. So all of you need to have those materials. Materials, the open cabinet over there, plenty of paper, crayons, markers, pencils. You all know where those are. If you think you need anything else, any other materials or whatever, you think I might have them, ask me. I'll see what I can do. Practice teaching so you can critique each other. Sam? So you can make sure that you're covering all the information you're supposed to. And please note, I'm going to be writing the words you've decided are important vocabulary words up on that piece of paper there. You need to determine which of those words are in your section and at the very least cover that stuff. Any questions?
Oh yeah, I beat James Bond.
Okay, you are the first section, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that consists of acceleration,
Gravity and motion.
air resistance. So how does air resistance affect objects in motion? Makes them fall slower. So one of the words I see up there phrases is terminal velocity. Is that in your section? What's terminal velocity? Don't look at the book. It's okay if you're right. I just want to see if
Object falls at the constant rate.
okay. So what is keeping some? So let me ask you this: if I were to jump out of a plane, okay, when I first jump out of a plane, am I speeding up? Okay. Am I going to continue to speed up until I hit the ground? What's going to happen to me?
Terminal velocity.
So keep going with that.
You're just gonna stay the same speed.
You're gonna weigh as much as
You're gonna be like.
And why am I not going to keep speeding up? What is it that's keeping me?
Air resistance.
Air resistance, which causes what?
ulcers.
Slowing people down.
Okay. So what?
And then it'll be like.
So what is it that slows people or anything that's moving down? What's like the enemy of motion? Air resistance is true, but there's something else. Gravity actually can speed you up to a certain point till you hit terminal velocity.
Oh, you know what? That's pretty racist.
But air resistance is a form of, it's another word, it's not up on the board, but it is in the chapter. See if you can figure it out. What is the enemy of all motion? Ready? Without looking at the book, you guys are second law of motion, right? Tell me something about it.
Oh, acceleration has to do with mass.
A little bit more. That's very good. A little bit more. Well, go.
The more inertia something has, the harder it is to move it. Like a watermelon would be harder.
So are you telling me that everything doesn't have the same amount of inertia?
Yes.
The more force put on an object, the faster it goes.
Okay. The faster it goes, is it all